from analog.
Hi, Jim. You've a great signal up here. You're 5.9 plus.
You're digital.
We are everywhere you want to be. This is the CQ Blind Hams Podcast.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Julian. My call is N1CA, November 1, Charlie Alpha. I've been a ham since 1990, so I can't believe this, man. We're coming up on 32 years that I've been a ham. I live in the Los Angeles area of Southern California, and so many fun things about this hobby. But I have to say that since discovering blind hams, one of the things I really enjoy is just the camaraderie that exists, as well as the knowledge base that I enjoy learning from as well as contributing to. It's very unique, and I haven't found anything like that at all in the years of being a ham until I learned about this network. So I love it. I think it's a wonderful thing. So going forward, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the rest of the crew here, the people who make CQ Blind Hams podcast possible. We have Joel, W0CAS. We have Steve, WB2KTV. Angelo, N2DYN. Robert, NC5R. So what we're going to do here in a moment when we start taking input from everybody is that when you're called on, you're going to unmute yourself, and you're going to introduce yourself similar to how I just introduced myself. You'll say your name, your call sign, your license class, and your location, and something that you enjoy about blind hams or why you're here joining us today. It doesn't have to be very long. There's a lot of us here, so the brief is really good. But just give us a little idea of, just something about yourself that we'll get to know. So again, when we call you, you're going to unmute yourself. You're going to give your call sign, all that stuff. And the way it's going to work is Robert is going to call your name, and then you'll unmute and speak to us and give us this information. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Joel, W0CAS. He's going to handle this next section here of our presentation.
Thank you, Julian. I want to welcome everybody to a crazy idea I come up with, the open chat. And I appreciate all my co-hosts and all the new people. We got Steve Matsura is new with our team, and Robert, NC5R. So thank you guys for helping us with this little project. My name is Joel, W0CAS. I'm located in Simpsonville, South Carolina. I'm a general class ham, and I've been a ham for almost 6. I think that's all you asked, did you? Oh, and this is my home. See, the Blind Hams Network is my home. I don't stray away as often as I probably should because, we sort of had a hand in getting this thing started. I kind of like hanging out with you. With all that said, I think we're going to go to Robert, NC5R.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Robert, NC5R, as Joel said, location College Station, Texas. It's been a lot of fun to work on planning this event. I am personally really enjoying the Blind Hams digital bridge / network. I've made a lot of great friends there, and I end up spending a lot of time there. It's really a lot of fun for me, and I'm so glad that you all are here. Hopefully, those who don't know a lot about it learn more about it and have a chance to get to know all of us. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Steve and let you, if you don't mind, Steve, go ahead and unmute and tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, hopefully it's working. I didn't hear it say unmuted.
It is.
It is
Good.
working.
I've been a ham since 1969. Actually, I'm a reconstituted ham. I was a ham from 69 to 91, and then I let my license go for no good reason other than I was in an apartment life now, and I had no room for HF in my life, so I just didn't do anything with it. I had an HT for a while, but I just let the ticket go. When I became retired in 06, I decided that was one of the first things I was going to do is pick up my license again, which I did, and I've been a technician class ever since for the same reason. I'll probably never see HF again, and if I do, that will energize me to get my general or advanced. I keep saying I'm going to study for the general, but it hasn't gotten off the ground in a long, long time. So I suspect until HF comes my way and tempts me, I'm going to stay a technician. And I'm located in New York City, Manhattan. Anything else you want to know?
Sounds
That's
good.
it.
I think it's Angelo's time, isn't it?
I believe so.
Good evening, everybody. It's Angelo Sinesso, N2DYN. I've been a ham for 43 years, and I mean, I'm on the Isle of Collington in the township of Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. And I really enjoy the blind hams because I've met a lot of the guys I went to school with, made a lot of new friends, and I just like to help when I can. So back to our host there.
One of the things we wanted to do is, since Patrick is here with us, is we thought we'd have Patrick tell us a little bit about the history of the Blind Hams Network and how this bridge came to be.
Is this thing on, first of all?
It is.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Oh, good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick. My call is N2DYI. I'm currently in New York City, originally from North Carolina. General class since 1996, tech since 1993. Well, I guess I'm not a tech anymore, but I was originally licensed in 1993, so though I'm one of the younger members here at 37, I've been licensed for almost 29 of those 37 years. And, well, let's see, where can we start? Well, the Blind Hams Network was not started by me. It was started by Joel and Dennis. Joel, was anybody else involved with that? I don't remember.
No, we were actually over on Handy Hams at the time, and we're having some audio troubles with Echo Link and some things. And Dennis and I said, let's, what about starting a talk group of our own? So I went to Brandmeister, and they give us 31,679, and then Patrick took over and went crazy.
Yes. So essentially what happened was in 2019, I needed a distraction from life very badly. I'd kind of been in and out of the hobby for years, mostly out at that point, and there were some things going on at home that I just wanted a distraction from. And I was talking to Noel, who I don't think is here, K5NER. We just call him Ner around here, especially when he does nets. Those get turned into nerds. But anyway, we were talking, and we were like, we were both kind of going through some things, and he was like, I kind of want to play with digital stuff. Let's get into D-Star and DMR and play with things. And so we both bought DMR radios. Back then, I was not on the Blind Hams mailing list. I posted a thing on Twitter. I said, if any of you are to any blind amateurs, what digital radios are you guys playing with? And I overwhelmingly got two radios, was the MD380 or the GD77S. Back then, of course, it was a whole lot less sophisticated than it is now, thanks to Joe Stevens. But essentially what happened was I got interested. I got onto the network and various other places, met a few of you guys, and not too long after I joined the Blind Hams Network for the first time, the thing I started hearing over and over again were basically there were people using Kenwood THD74A, and this is, of course, a D-Star radio, and we are a Brandmeister-only DMR talk group. And there are people here that want to use the network and can't because all they have is a THD74. I say all they have. That's a really expensive radio, but they wanted to use the network, so I said, okay, I think I can do a little studying and make this happen. Eventually did. There were some hiccups along the way. Some of you probably remember that. The D-Star bridge kind of kept dying every day and a half to a couple of days. Somebody else was hosting that part of the bridge for me because I didn't quite have the infrastructure to make it happen, and Brandmeister was not making it all that easy. They're still not making things all that easy. But that turned into, I started playing with Allstar a few months later, and I was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to patch analog into that? And I kind of did one of those ask for forgiveness later and do the thing first things. Got some controversy going on that. There were some people who were not really quite sure, and fair enough on that, because the early days of that were pretty patchy. But that turned into a lot of expansion. We eventually got Echo Link on. I remember, Joel, you were like, oh no, not Echo Link, this is going to be bad.
That's why we left over at Handy Hams, because of that darn Echo Link.
Yeah, exactly. But I kind of learned all the things to not do by watching other people do them not so well, and decided to try my hand on that. That turned into, eventually, let's add a bunch of allstar nodes to do load balancing. Now we've got a huge network of nodes, modes. We're on DMR, both Brandmeister and TGIF. We're on Peanuts. We have a couple of DMR links from other places like DV Scotland. We have 6 allstar nodes. We have D-Star, YSF, Wires X, Echolink, what else? Ham Shack Hotline. Yeah, and a bunch of other things. So that's kind of how that started, and the membership has absolutely exploded since I joined in April of 2019. Lots of people just got out of the woodwork. A lot of what I saw was kind of my same story, where people getting back into ham radio after a lot of years, because this cool new digital stuff isn't. So it's really cool to see the expansion from, it was a pretty moderate group when I joined. The Saturday Net maybe had 20 to 25 check-ins on average. Now we usually don't have less than 40. If we do, it's a slow day, and we've had up to 76. So, gave away radio. That's always an incentive for more check-ins. So that's
might try that again. We might try that again someday.
We have 34 here tonight.
Yep.
There you go.
So that's kind of the short story of how I kind of became involved and sort of changed the network forever. Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, thank you though. We love your changes, even though that Brandmeister not playing fair.
No, that's true. Although I did get Brandmeister to kind of work. It's back on the system in a very duct tape fashion. But I'm still working. We're trying to very well.
Yeah, well, the credit goes to you because you're able to work around the roadblocks that they throw at you. So.
Well, it's not the first time. Certainly won't be the last. And if it were just up to me, I would have probably just thrown it off the bridge ages ago. But I know there are people here, maybe even in this room, who can't get into the system any other way. So my goal is to facilitate communication, to get as many people together as possible. So I'll do my best to make that happen.
I want to tell you my commitment to Brandmeister real quick. I sold my last hotspot yesterday.
Yay. Oh, well, okay then.
All-star all the way.
That's the way it should be. No, I'm not biased. No, we don't really discriminate here. Not really.
That's how you really feel.
Yeah. Well, it's understandable.
I for one hope the future isn't all-star only, but that's just my opinion.
So.
Yes, Mr. DMR is awesome. We know who you are.
Yes, you do. Yeah, and also Echo Stink. You know exactly who I am, because every Wednesday night I have to check in because I'm at church, and I'm a deacon in church, and usually I'm either doing the service.
In church can get Android phones and use DV Switch right now. Just kidding.
No, we can't. No, we can't because we can't afford it.
Can we get it back in order?
I'm sure. Don't those Motorola E6s come out from under the pews, right?
Well, yeah, but we won't talk about that.
We're not open for them yet, guys. Sorry about it.
Well, one thing about blind hams is it teaches you to learn the new limitations of your wallet. Just when you think it can't expand, it seems to somehow, because you see something new.
Be on the radio.
I wonder if we actually could get, for example, if we could get commissions for all the Clearnodes that we ended up selling indirectly, we'd be doing pretty good.
Yeah, if blind hams could get $1 of every Clearnode sale.
Might pay for the bridge for a month.
Yeah.
All right,
So thank you, Patrick. It's helpful to have that history. I enjoy hearing about it because, again, I came in shortly, after the COVID lockdowns and all that stuff on DMR, and it was just great to be able to connect with this group of people. And it certainly helped me to get through all that stuff. And, ultimately ended up going to All-Star because everybody was on All-Star. And All-Star just doesn't sound as good when you're hearing it transcoded to DMR. So I'm glad to be on All-Star. DMR is great, and I use it for certain things. But certainly to talk on blind hams, it's much better to be an analog. That's just my opinion. So.
Most people go from analog to digital in those respects. A lot of what we've gone is the other way around. If you look at the net stats, it's about 95% analog and 5% everything else.
Yeah, definitely. So good to have that. All right, so I think now that we've covered the history and everybody has a little bit better idea of the story of this network, I think we're going to go to the main part of this gathering here. And for that, I'm going to kick it over to Steve. He's going to take the check-ins, if you will, and let each of you speak. So be prepared to do so. And remember, again, what you're going to be asked to tell us is your name, your location, your call sign, whatever order you want to give it, and your license class, and just something that you like either something you like about the Blind Hams network, or why you came to this gathering today. Either one could work. So without further ado, go ahead, Steve, take it away.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call each one of you by the name of the participant list as it's shown. Some of you have signed in with calls who I know, and there's a lot of names and calls that I don't know, but I'm just going to go down the list. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to unmute yourself, which on Windows is you hold down the Alt key and press A. That's a toggle, and it will remain unmuted until you're done. And then I would ask you to remute yourself when you're done. Or, if you don't want to do any of that, you can just lean on the space bar, which works like a PTT. If you're on a Mac, that would be Command-Shift-A or the space bar. And if you're on an iPhone or an Android phone, in the lower left-hand corner, there is a button that you can tap on the iPhone. It's double tap. It's probably double tap on Android, and that will mute and unmute you. It's another toggle. So let's start with Bob, who also had his hand raised. KNLR, the mic is yours. You want to unmute and talk to us? We can now.
This is Bob, K8LR. I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I've been a ham for over 60 years. I actually was 13 when I got my license. I'm now an extra class licensee. And the Blind Hams Network is a fantastic network. It ties about 10 different modes and services together. It's a great place to meet people. Back to you, Steve.
All right. Thank you very much. Next on my list, I have John W2QCY. We have a few Johns tonight, so I'll call you by your call sign as well. John in Albany, New York, W2QCY. Unmute yourself and tell us about John.
Good evening. This is Whiskey 2, Quebec Charlie Yankee, Albany, New York. It's a tongue twister, Steve, so don't worry about it. It used to be WN2 long about 52 years ago, which answers that question. I've been on the Blind Hams Bridge somewhere around 2020, I guess. As many people, I guess I came into it on the lockdown part with a clear around here with a Clearnode. When I'm not doing that, I'm pretty well active on HF and actually waiting for a different radio for HF we delivered today. In my ham career, I've done Army Mars. We do Aries and manage a local net for that. A variety of things like Army and Air Force Mars, pardon me, and a variety of things. And I am always amazed at things like the TechNet and what things folks who are blind or visually impaired get to do and experience. I think that's very cool. And in my supposed day job now, because I'm pretty much retired, I'm an A instructor.
Okay, thank you very much. Next on my list, I have Larry Lumpkin, who I don't know who that is. I know who it isn't. I know it's not W8LM because he's another Larry. Larry Lumpkin, unmute yourself and tell us about you.
Good evening. My name is Larry. I don't have a call sign at the moment. I'm about to, what one gentleman said earlier, to become a reconstituted ham. I got my novice in 63 and my generals in 64. I let it lapse in 69, and life took me in other directions, and career and marriage, and my wife has been encouraging me for some time now to go back and get a ticket. And I think she wants to talk, but she wants me to get the license. I was a computer programmer for many years, and I was a rehab instructor the last part of my what little technology I knew is at one time is very old, and I'm not very technical. I don't build, or I don't have a lot of mechanical know-how. Blind hams, like there weren't. I knew of a couple of blind hams when I was on way back, but there wasn't like an organization that I knew about. And there was certainly no accessibility. You're speaking a foreign tongue with all these the protocol, DMR and stuff like that. I'm here to learn, to listen and learn more than anything else, because I haven't been in the hobby for a long time. So I'm just going to be here and learn what I can. And I hope to get my general class back, since I just learned that I could pass the technician's test and then I could be reinstated. So I'm looking forward to that, and I appreciate your letting me in and having the opportunity to hopefully get to know some of you.
Okay, thanks very much. We appreciate having you here, and we're glad to have you here. And if you figure out how to get your general status reinstated without having to take that test, please let me know. I've been trying to figure that one out since 2006. When I was previously licensed, I was a general, and if I could get it back without taking that nasty old test, I'd probably do it.
You should be able to. I've got I think it's the official scoop from officialdom. I've got a URL that if you have proof that you had a general, you can take the technician, you can submit it, you can submit that, and get yourself reinstated.
You're already a general now, Steve. You probably don't realize it.
Well, I'd certainly like to find out how to do that. Maybe you can post that on the list, or get it to me some other way. Okay, we got a lot of people. I don't mean to rush it, but we got a lot of people, and I am going to move on to the next person in my list, and that's going to be WB3. Of course, I can't read the whole thing. Mark, it's up to you, my friend.
Currently unmuted. Hi, WB3CAI, who's not very active on the blind net, but I've checked in a couple times. Got my license in 1976, and I was inactive for the mid-'80s till about the time Buddy Brannon, our friend in Erie, did a review about the Baofeng and said it had some, they were cheap. Got a couple Baofeng. My wife got her technician license, and I'll give credit to Buddy because I think he did a review of the GD77, and that motivated me to spend a little more money. I remember, I guess when COVID started, that there was the ability to hear the talk group on Amazon Echo. I'm not sure. I haven't done that for some time, but I can remember teleworking in the basement to a lot of you folks talking over the Amazon Echo. So I don't know if we get a log of how many people listen, or if there's any way to know about that, or even if that works sometime.
It does, and I can actually get those stats if anybody wants.
Wonder how many people know about that, or maybe we should publicize that, get some people interested in ham radio.
Well, it's listed on the Blind Hams page.
Okay, and we gotta point people at that. Say, hey, here's what you could be doing. Be talking to these people.
We do every chance we get.
Okay, all right. Anyway, I'm kind of interested in All-Star. I wish I'd hear some demos about that. I hear the audio's good. I'd like to have something that would reach out and maybe be able to walk around the neighborhood with a held and talk over some greater distances. Maybe you all are doing that. That's the story. Good to hear Larry. I have emails to him. And for you, Steve, I think if you can find your call sign in a call book, I've heard people, you get somebody to dig up an old call book, and maybe some of them are online, and demonstrate that you had a general way back when, and might be the way to get there again. Okay, good to hear you all. I'm one of those listeners or lurkers on the Blind Hams list. Doesn't quite understand what's going on all the time. I'm trying to learn. Okay?
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, we've got a couple of new joinees. Angelo, your hand went up and down. Did you need something?
No.
Oh, okay. Let's go from one Mark to another. Mark WB6BJN, our resident meteorologist, professional or otherwise. Mark, you want to unmute and talk to us? WB6BJN, this is W2KT. Unmute and talk to us.
Okay, so he talks so much on the bridge.
I was thinking the same thing, but I wasn't going to go there.
That's why I did.
I'm having a problem here.
Yeah, now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now.
Okay. I don't know what happened. I went for my other keyboard, and it wouldn't do anything. Oh, well. Anyway, I'm Mark, WB6BJN in Modesto, California. And for anybody who doesn't know where that is, that's in the San Joaquin Valley of California. Got the Sierras on one side, the Range on the other. And it's about 75 degrees. And let's see, I've been a ham since 1971. My electronics teacher in high school told me that if I got my ham ticket, he'd give me an A. Now, that's some real incentive. So that's the deal. Got my ham ticket and got my A, and here I am. And I enjoy the Blind Hams group, and learned a lot about, I got into the blind hams group on DMR when I found about it. Now I'm into allstar. Really enjoy allstar. And I like getting on and talking about the weather and filling everybody in on what's going on in that regard, and also learning about some of the new technical. Fantastic. I'm certainly glad to be here.
Excellent. If you can only do something about the weather, then we give you an A+. Anyway, moving right along.
There you go.
Hi. Next on my list is Marvin, WB5MRR.
Well, thanks for adding the B, just plain old W5.
Sorry about that.
Anyway, good evening, everybody. My name is Marvin, and my call is W5MRR, and I am in southwest Louisiana, about 30 miles north of Lake Charles, Louisiana. I got my ham ticket. Let's see. Chris could probably tell us better than I could.
1980, I think.
I think you're probably right. But anyway, I started out, I'm Black Dog, like everybody else, or most folks around here, started out with BMR. As soon as I found out about the Shari nodes, that's where I went, and I really enjoy Allstar, especially now that I've got my radio out of the shop running, where I can actually access Allstar from out of the shop. So that's a lot of fun. And I'm just into rag chewing on 75 meters in the morning. And we've got a local repeater out here at the house. It's a Yaesu repeater. It is on a wires X. And we're having some tower things going on. Right now it's hard to find somebody to climb the 250-foot tower to put some lights on it.
Get a nosebleed going up on that thing.
And one of the odder things, somebody was talking about the other day, I heard on the bridge, somebody said, don't drop a Bayo thing radio. Well, that ain't true, because I personally saw one fall 250 feet. It hit off of what we call the mobile phone building, which is just a metal building. It bounced off that thing, hit the ground, and we picked it up, and it still works.
Oh, my God.
That's a testament to manufacture if I ever heard one.
That's it. But anyway, I'm glad to be here. I'm not on the Blind Hams email list. When I was years ago, the darn thing was generating 100 messages a day, and I just couldn't cut that. So maybe it's dropped down a little bit.
Oh, now it's down to about 100 a week. It's not that bad. You should come back.
Yeah, I may do that then. But anyway, good to be here, everybody, and hope you enjoy the meeting, and I enjoy the bridge, Patrick, and as always, thanks for what you do. And if this black dog will move her nose, I'll mute myself again.
Well, maybe she'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Marvin. Russ, you have your hand raised. I'm going to call on you first. You might have something that needs dealing with in and of the moment. Can for MLR. It's over to you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Yeah, I've got a local club meeting that's already started. It's a Zoom meeting. But real quick, name is Russ. KN4MLR, general class, was licensed back in the mid. And yes, Steve, you upgrade by taking the technician's test. I got out of it when I lost my vision, but at any rate, yeah, I took the tech test, and now I'm a. And the thing that I like about blind hams, there is just an enormous wealth of information to be had on the net or on the mailing list, either way. And it's also nice to talk to other blind people. Just the camaraderie is worth it right there. But if you want to know something, this is the place. So I'll cut a chart. Turn it back to you, Steve. Thanks so much for letting me jump in. I have to run. Take care, everybody. 73.
That's quite all right, and thank you for joining and for your participation. Let's go over to someone whose voice I bet most of us know, if not all of us, the mighty Curtis Gelsner.
Watch it now. Watch it. You can't say those kind of things behind my back. I'll turn around. Anyway, I'm K6VFO, at least now. I was WB6HEF for, 49 years? Then I decided to get a vet because I was in North Dakota. I knew WB6VFO, school instructor, and I kind of liked the call. I got K6VFO back in. But anyway, I've been ham since 1963. Certainly enjoy the hobby. I enjoy HF. I run 2 swap nets here in Southern California, the Keller repeater. But I was born and raised in Lodi, and I know the guy in Modesto swear Lodi right up the ways there. But I got my license in '63, spent a lot of time on HF. As I say, I run swap nets down here in Southern California. And blind hams is a real luxury because, after all, when I first started in ham radio, that I knew at the time, and it was a bit of a struggle. Not the code, certainly. Some of the aspects of the theory were a problem until somebody explained to me what current. Like one is pressure and one is so. Anyway, that's all I have, and it's nice to be here. My whole thing has been being a musician. Sort of semi-retired, but I'm still poking a K6VFO.
Thank you very much. You would fit right in with all of us on the Blind Hams Bridge, and we hope that you find your way there someday. We're glad to have you. We've got a net Monday night that you just drop into like you invented it. We call it the Sounds Good Net, and I'm sure you'd enjoy that. Okay, let's move along to Chris, NE5V. The mic is yours.
Thank you, Steve. Hopefully I'm coming through.
You are.
My name is Chris, November Echo 5 Victor. I'm in extra class in Liberty Hill, Texas. First license in 1970. I spent a lot of time on HF for quite a few years. Got out of that when I moved here in 2003. Got out for a bit. And then 7 years ago, after my dad died, I had a little extra money, so I bought a tower and beams and all of that and got back into it. And there's a guy that's now passed on, but he used to always tell me, you ought to get a DMR, D-Star. So after about 6 years of him saying that, I did. And I was one of those that Patrick pointed out. The first radio that I got was a THT-74A, which I enjoyed. And anyway, got into DMR and was exploring the Brandmeister Talk group list, and I saw Blind Hams. I thought, wonder what that's about. So anyway, watched the metamorphosis from DMR to all of the rest of the modes joining in, and heard lots of the hits and misses. But anyway, sort of watched what it's become today. And it's fun to see how the computers and the radios are integrated. I've always enjoyed that. And now I'm sure I've bored everybody to death on the bridge and on the podcast with things I've been finding out. But it's been fun exploring and learning this whole process as we go along. There are lots of people, so I'll cut it short. You may believe that or not.
We'd like to thank you, Chris, for all you've done. You're the largest contributor to the podcast, and I'd like to personally thank you for all the hard work you've done on doing all the podcasts.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, that's
I have to say the same thing.
I was going to add mine, too. Without Chris's mentoring and elmering, I wouldn't have been able to get past working on the MD380. And then he told me about the MD380 tools, and that got me into DMR, and you'll know the rest.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and it's not boring, Chris. You do a great job.
Well, thank you. Anyway, it's been fun to do, and who knows, one of these days I may get a yen to do some more of those. But, gosh, I probably beat the Clearnode to death now. Now I'll have to find some other thing to work with. Anyway, back to whiskey bottles to kill that virus, E5E.
And I thank you for that. Okay, next I want to go to someone who I don't know who they are, which means they're probably not part of our bridge, but they're probably on the email list, and they're just listed here as Dana iPad. So, Dana, tell your iPad to unmute and tell us about Dana, not the iPad.
Well, good evening. This is K5TEL along with Dana.
Oh, I should have known. That was dumb on my part. Go ahead, Tim.
I should have renamed my phone, but the problem is I've got it named as the hotspot, so hey, it works. So, but we do have K5TEL. The name is Tim. Got my license in the 80s, back in 84, 85 at the School for the Blind Explorer Post, and in Arkansas, and was very active there for a while, and very active with some repeaters, FM repeaters and all, and then moved to the DMR mode. Back when it was on DMR Mark in Little Rock, had a CS700, and then got the MD380. And I want to thank Chris for the tutorial because it was very helpful. I learned how to program the MD380, and I have a UV380 as well. And then we married Dana here, K3DML, and she has a GD77, and we both have a 7550 Motorola, and doesn't use the 380 because she doesn't know the CW. But anyway, we're here in Clearfield, Pennsylvania, and we enjoy the blind hams, all the work that Patrick and everybody has done on the bridge and to keep this thing going, especially Joel. I think Joel was one of the first people I talked to on it, and it was just great. So keep up the good work, and met a lot of friends and hope to meet a lot more.
Thank you very much, and Dana as well. And maybe one day we'll get her to check in, really say hello on the Blind Hams Bridge. Next down my list is an old friend, across-the-town neighbor, WA2IWC, Don.
Well, good evening, all. I'll be able to make started at 9, but I have an appointment. Glad it started at 7. Anyway,
Change the schedule just for you.
Thank you. So my name is Don, WA2IWC. I want coffee. I'm in New York City. I'm across town from Steve. I'm on the west side of Manhattan. He's on the east side of Manhattan. He didn't want me to move to. And I got my license back in 1989. I won't go through too much of how I started out on the novice bands, 2-meter AM, and then FM started to take hold and got on 2-meter FM and enjoyed that for many, many years. And also HF work with various radios over the two Collins R390s, R388s, a couple of other receivers along the way, et cetera, a couple of Kenwoods after that, 520, 530, 570, and moved from New York to Massachusetts, lived up there for 25 years, a tower up there with some VHF beam and a VHF UHF antenna. I never did get a tri-bander up there. And then I moved back to New York City, and I still on HF, although it's getting harder. It was up and up and up and up. But I have a Flex 6300 with a full-size 8-meter loop up in the air, about 85 feet, remote antenna tuner on the roof. And I have a Comet G3 on VHF and UHF with a bunch of E71 and several DMR radios, E-Star radio, and that's about it. I got into DMR back in 10 when I was getting started in this country. And back then there was only the DMR Mark network. It was even small at that time, but they really wanted to treat it a real network, proper protocol and so forth, because they knew it could get unmanageable in a hurry. And in some ways they were right. But it did grow and grow, and then the idea came about, and you had some very expensive equipment on the market commercially that was used and is still used, DMR Mark. But after a while, network people started to break out and start their own networks, a few experimental networks starting up in California, and Brandmeister then came about. And it was pretty much a wide open network. You can talk, you could pretty much do whatever you, and it was beautiful, just excellent. But now it is a huge, so it's starting to fall apart. Nonetheless, I guess, beginning, there was no such thing as blind hams. Patrick Purdue got on DMR, and then he got on D-Star, and, well, no, I don't think he ever did get on D-Star, but anyway, he got on DMR, and then with All-Star, he started the blind ham groups on DMR, but decided he'd put up a bridge. And the rest is history. There's so many people that are tonight that we owe so much to. Patrick, Joel, Chris, I could go on. We're very, very fortunate. And now we've got this blind hams network with all kinds of bridges and connections, DMR, D-Star, wires, system fusion. It's just awesome. So with that, let me somebody else. It's WA2IW going back in.
Well, thank you very much, and I have to tell a story about you and me going back to 1969. Don and I went to the same school for the blind, and we were both in the same radio class, and we both tested for both our novices and generals at the same time. When we got our novices, we were all consecutively assigned calls WN2, which was the thing for novices back in the day. I was IWA. Somebody else was IWB. That might have been Jeff, WA2AIB. I don't remember. and then there was Don, WN2IWC. Then we all went down to Varick Street. I'm sure any of you who have heard about hams from New York have heard about going down to Varick Street to take the general test. We went down there, and Don came away with WA2IWC. I came out with WB2KTV. But that's not the story. The story is, about 2 weeks after school, we both were going to a camp for blind, older, I guess, young adults or older children, whatever you want to call us. We were, 16, 17 years old at the time, and Don had a station set up at camp with a 2-meter halo on top of the recreation building, and he had an AM station going in there, and a couple of other guys had their licenses, and I said I didn't have my paper ticket yet, but I had just gotten my license, and my new call was WB2KTV, blah, blah, blah. Could I operate with you? Nothing doing. These guys, they wanted that paper ticket so bad they wouldn't let me anywhere near it. And I thought to myself, we're all blind. I could show you any piece of paper and tell you it was my license, but I didn't do it.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
It was really bad. I wanted to be on the air so bad that summer. Well, when I got home, I made up for it. I had my HW16, and then I got my cousin's HW100, so I made up for it. But that's okay, Don. I forgive. All these years later, and a lot of water on it for I'm only kidding, of course. There was you, and there was RHO, rather, and ZEI, and a couple others. We had a good time that summer.
Yeah.
On 2
Actually,
meter.
I wasn't boss HRO.
That's true. That's true. He was a real stickler for. He was a real stickler for details. That guy still is.
Yeah.
Still is.
I know. But because I got my license July the day, and I was so upset. I'm like, now stay home and operate. I don't want to go to camp.
I probably got mine the same day, but the mail came a little too late, and I already left the house. Oh, well. Oh, there's KW4U. Okay, we'll get to you in a minute, John. Right now, I would like to introduce what I call a leading light in the amateur radio community. Welcome, Mr. Hap Hawley, KC9RP. The mic is yours, sir. Oh, if you're on an iPhone, it's the Magic Tap 2-finger double tap. Or if you're
okay, was that for me or for Hap?
It was for Hap, but while we're waiting, we'll take you instead. KW for you.
Take me. Well, it was Taste, I believe. In any case, yeah, I was dialing to come in at 5 o'clock, and then my wife ran into the office saying, we got to go to Big Lots right now. They have the chairs in. They've been looking for them. We went there, and they didn't have them anyway.
Oh!
So, I figured I didn't even know if it was worth coming in at this point. I guess I missed an hour of these, but I'm here for a little while anyway. And apparently not too late. It's going on in...
Nope, you go right ahead. We're up to the point where we're unmuting people and having them tell us a little bit about themselves and what they like about the being part of the Blind Hams Network.
Well, okay, I'm 67, born and raised in New York City. First license as a 14-year-old in March of 1969. Let it go in 2 years later because it was up or out from the novice and it's going on. Reacquired the license in 79 when I was at Harvard Law and operated there W1AF. So that was a lot of fun. Been really peripheral to the hobby as life circumstances, went in different directions. But as a retiree, I've been on, got myself a hotspot and having fun with that. And someday I'll actually antenna so I can take the TS590SG that I bought almost 5 years ago, take it out of the box and actually put it on the air.
All right. Glad you could make it. And, I'm sorry they didn't have your chairs, but you could be
They probably will by tomorrow, but...
I hate when stuff like that happens. Okay, let's go over to the Chicago area and see if KC9RP has found his unmute button. Hap, are you with us? D chord. Nope, no Hap. Where are you? Okay, we'll try again a little bit later. Janet, your iPad wants you to unmute and tell us of yourself.
Good evening to everybody. Blind Hams podcast. My call is KF4JIG. I originally was licensed in Alabama in 96, and I'm a general class. And like most people, I'll try and make it short. I found the Blind Hams Bridge on Echo Link of all things during the pandemic, and I really really enjoy Echolink. And of course, I'm located in Twin Lake, Michigan.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're glad to have you aboard and visit our bridge more often. I don't recognize your voice, so come on and talk to us. There's always somebody hanging around. Okay, Jay from Horseheads, New York, a stone's throw away from Pennsylvania. Unmute your microphone and tell us about KD2UEF. Right. Okay, whichever one gets there first.
Well, I'm here.
There you go. The voice of KC9RP. Please proceed.
Yeah, that was like half.
Good evening. Hello, good evening. And I'm sorry I'm late. I had a doctor appointment and fortunately got home earlier than I thought I might. Okay. My call is KC9RP. And my name is Hap, Hotel Alpha Papa in the northwest Chicago suburb of Des Plaines, Illinois. I'll make this brief, which means it'll only be a half hour instead of an hour and a half. Pardon me. 1965, I got my novice in Southern California, Escondido, for you who are familiar with the San Diego County area. And this is before we had the volunteer examiner program. But, of course, in those days, if you, as the would-be, wannabe ham, could find somebody that would give you these, and you lived like 30 miles from the nearest FCC office, you would have that person do the test. I did. I passed the novice and had a good time for the year that I had. That's all you had in those years for a novice license. And it was not, and so it expired like in April, was it? In September of 66. As I recall, it was April, not until April 67, that I finally got off my butt and got my general with, again, another volunteer examiner. In fact, the same one. And
13 words a minute, too.
What? That's true. It was 13 words a minute. Yeah, that's true. And I didn't get on the phone as a general right away because I was having a Heathkit HW100 transceiver by Heathkit, which was a kit, of course, in those days, until I had that built by, I'm sorry, I would like to turn this shut off, by a high school friend of mine, a sighted guy who built it and did an A-OK job doing so. And I went on. Anyway, let me shorten this up. Went to college downstate Illinois at Principia College, which had a ham station, a good one. Principia is located on the bluffs overlooking the Mississippi near Alton, Illinois. And I ran a whole bunch of phone patches during my 4 years there for students to their parents all over the country and had a good time. So I was able to pay back a little bit of what I had received and gotten out of amateur radio since 1965. Moved here to Chicago in 74 to study music, accordion, believe it or not, jazz accordion in those days.
Jazz?
And what's that?
Jazz? Wow.
Yeah, jazz accordion. I know, it seems, you think, what? Oompa, jazz?
Almost oxymoronic, you know.
Almost, well.
Lawrence Welk meets, Art Blakey.
And Myron Florin. He's with Lawrence Welk's accordionist, of course. But when I moved here to Chicago, I rented the upstairs of a 2-flat and had a real cooperative landlord who had a pipe organ in his own house.
Oh, nice.
Which was nice. That was kind of a kick to play that once in a while. I'm a keyboard player overall, by the way. But I put up, had a friend of mine, put up a 10-meter beam on the roof of the house, and my landlord was cool about it. He said, yeah, sure, go ahead, why not? Well, fortunately, he did not change his mind, and I had that for the 2 years I lived there. In 75, I met my wife, Stephanie, who I've been married to for 45 years now. Met her in a summer camp in Colorado, in the central part of the state, Buena Vista, between Salida and Leadville, for those who are familiar with it. If you aren't, doesn't matter. It was a wonderful place, and We met July 6th of 1975. We were married August 28th of 76. It was a long-distance romance. She was in Tucson. I was here in Des Plaines, Illinois.
Yeah, Tucson.
And a long-distance romance can work, but you got to have a lot of trust, of course, and we did.
Then we made some money for the phone bills.
Yeah, well, and in those days, you didn't get this nationwide calling for X number of dollars a month like you do these days. And our correspondence was via cassette. You remember cassettes back then?
Lord.
You'd rather forget them. Yes, I
remember
know.
reel-to-reels.
Well, yeah, I still have open reel. In fact, but that's a different story. Let's see if I can wrap this up. In 1985, I started producing local audio ham radio programming here for local repeaters in the Chicago area, primarily for the BEAR repeater, the Broadcast Employees Amateur Radio. Broadcast Employees Amateur Repeater. And that mushroomed to the late 80s when I started putting out what was called the RP report. Gee, where'd that come from? KC9 RP. Oh, that's where it came from. Yeah. And by 1990, I had renamed it to the RAIN, RAIN, RAIN report. RAIN was an acronym for the Radio Amateur Information Network. And I produced the RAIN report, which was a weekly podcast, in effect, of interviews and lots of forum excerpts from the Dayton Hamvention, where I went to every year and recorded all the forums. And they had 4 rooms of them going Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'd record them, bring them home, and then catalog them and excerpt from them for the following year. And I did that stuff from 1920, and now am I that old? No, I don't think so. 1990 to 2019. And at that point, I was getting tired. It was more like work than anything else because I wasn't getting paid. Nobody gets paid in ham radio for what they do. So I stopped it for a couple of months. Then I got the editing bug again. I love editing, always have and always will. And began producing the RAIN Hamcast in August of 2019. And I'm still doing that today. And now it is a podcast as of about a month ago. And what else? Oh, you know what? I haven't gotten on the bridge yet. I'm not set up for that. I listened to the bridge on my Alexa smart speaker. Some of you probably never knew you could do that. Yes, you can. So I'm hoping to get into digital soon. But, gosh, I'm retired now for 2 years from being an audio audio engineer for Horizons for the Blind, which is out in Crystal Lake, Illinois. It's a 501c3 not-for-profit organization that converts print materials into Braille, large print, and ding audio. And that was my department, all 3 of us. And I was there 20 years until I retired in July of 2020. So July 4th truly is my Independence Day. And I think that's probably enough out of me.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, I know just a wee bit about Horizons for the Blind. I know other people who've worked there. And I would like to thank Horizons for the Blind for a service that they provided. I don't know if it still exists, but when it was big, I used it a lot. It was called Directions for Me. Somebody, some enterprising soul, had gotten the text of instructions for just a whole lot of packaged foods.
Yes. And
made them available. And I thought that was one of the greatest things that anybody could do for blind people living on their own, to have a place where you could go on the web and download instructions for packaged foods that they couldn't otherwise read. This is, of course, long before the ubiquity of scanning devices like iPhones.
That's right. Yep, absolutely right. And that kind of put us on the map, I think.
Yes.
For a while anyway, and there were it was a real good service, and
I'm glad to have had it. It's still going?
Well, no, I don't know if I should say Horizons for the Blind is still going, but I just love retirement because every day is a Saturday.
Indeed.
Yep.
Now, not to push things along too quickly, but Curtis, I saw your hand go up and then go down. There he goes. What can we do for you, Curtis? You had your hand up with a question?
I got a QRT. I got things coming up.
Then have a good evening, and we're very glad you stopped by.
Yeah, well, thanks for the invitation. There's some in the...
Thank you. There will be. That's our plan. Okay, moving along. Jay, KD2UEF, you found your unmute button? Tell us about KD2UEF.
All right, how am I doing, Steve?
Perfect.
Perfect. I definitely found out why I really like my Clearnode. 3 reasons. Number 1 is double tap, like being on Echolink. Number 2 is my battery went from 30 to 18 just in the time that we started this. And then the third thing is I need 2 hands, so I got to put my beer down. Other than that, it's my call sign is Kilo Delta 2 Uniform Echo Foxtrot. We tried to come up with other things, so I'll just say University of Eastern Florida, because Steve, I know you like that. My name is Jay, and I live here in Elmira, Horseheads, New York. We call it Stinky Town. All it is prisons and visitors. Other than that, the reason I do like blind hams, the wealth of knowledge, not only in ham radio, but also pretty much like life experiences from other blind people. See, so I've only been a blind ham or a ham for a year and a half and blind for 3.5 years. It's just amazing the things that I've learned just coming from here. And yes, I am a technician studying for my general. And yes, in section 2C of the general test, it does say if you had a general license, you need to you can get your license just by taking the technician. Other than that, I'll send it back to you, Steve. We'll make this short. 82 UEF.
Okay, Jay, thank you very much. Now, let's go a lot west and a lot further south to Cal, WH6EYV. Tell us about Cal.
All right. Aloha, everybody on the Blind Hams CQ podcast. This is your WH6EYV. I'm a new licensed, I'm a technician. I've been one since 2015, and the person that got really me inspired was my partner in crime. Well, he's deceased now, but it's Dwayne Whittingham, N9SSN. And hi, Hap. I've known you for a long time. We've been out of touch. But anyway, I came across this Blind Hams Network since 2017, 18. It's been a great experience, and I like it. And I would really love to get into digital. And one of my friends, she's from Washington. Her name is Siobhan. She's sending me a JPOL, which is really cool. So I hope to be on the air soon. This is WH6EYV. Back to you, Steve.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see. Who's next on the list? Don't tell me I'm going to the top of the list again. Let's go down here. Neil, how about you? K8IT. We haven't heard from you yet tonight.
Okay, let's see here.
You're on. You're good.
Okay. This is Neil, Kilowatt 8, India Tango. I'm also in Kalamazoo. Bob and I are neighbors by about 13 miles apart. I was licensed initially in 1974. I had a 7th grade teacher, a lady math teacher, who was very encouraging. He basically said that there was going to be an amateur radio class specifically for younger middle school and high school people, sponsored by, at that time, the Thomas A. Edison Radio Association. Here again, in those days, grew up in New Jersey, and the Elmer at that class was no other than, unfortunately, he's a silent E now, Bill Ingrote, Kilowatt 2 NJ, K2NJ, Bill Ingrote. And I tell you, he had a patience of unbelievable. But we had about 30 kids, and we were just outside of the 30 miles outside of 201 Varick Street, New York, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And long story short, I passed my novice, ended up getting Whiskey November 2, Whiskey to Mike. And in those days, to upgrade, it was a non-renewable license, like so many other people have said. You had to go, at that time, I had to go into New York, into 201 Varick Street. Had a examiner, oh man, he was probably a wire telegraph guy, was probably about 80 years old. And,
I think I remember that guy.
Yeah, really. And he gave me my CW. I passed it. Ended up I failed the general, but I got my technician. Ended up becoming Whiskey Alpha 2 Whiskey India Mike, which was at those days we are two wheels in motion. And that was very handy because my used to go around town on a 10-speed bicycle. So that was very handy. Oops. Okay, somebody raised their hand or something there. The 2 years later, I had gotten my general, and in the Old Bridge Radio Association in Old Bridge, New Jersey, I was the first radio trustee of that, with a repeater call sign back then, Whiskey Radio 2 Army Post Office, and that was in 1976. And
I don't mean to interrupt you, but you mentioned Old Bridge. That is the home of the now long silent key W2JIO. Did you know Bob Gunderson?
Yeah, I certainly did know Bob Gunderson, and I certainly knew Art Chapman and quite a few others that we've talked about here growing up in that area. You and I have probably crossed paths multiple times.
And we didn't even know it.
Yeah, and let's see, back then, I could go on for hours. One of my favorite public service events was public service. And I was another silent key, WA2FXB, Sid Lieberman. He and several others got me into New York City Marathon communication, and I ended up getting involved very much with that. Ended up being net control for about 12 years on the Finish Line Medical Net in Central Park at Tavern on the Green. Love public service. Did a lot of public service over the years. I could go on for hours talking about public service, but I won't. Later on in life, got married, children. I had a very successful career. I was born sighted. I didn't lose my sight until about 2016 in its entirety. In 2010, basically, I was fully sighted. I was doing automotive architecture design for a lot of Ford products and GM products. Met a lot of interesting people like Jay Leno in person with some of his jet engine Firebird and a bunch of interesting people along the path. Ended up getting a lot of patents. Of course, I got 3 things. I got a handshake from some CEOs. I got the capability of receiving a plexiglass plaque. Oh, I got 4 things. I got $2 per patent, and I got the opportunity to come back tomorrow and do it all over again. Glad about that. Let's see, back to amateur radio. I I've been in around All-Star 2015. Knew Jim Dixon personally. Actually met him once. He's a really fascinating individual. All-Star has gone crazy different ways ever since. One thing that I've always done over the years, other than public service, is I in fact just this week I got a notification from the ARRL that I'm going to be receiving my 52nd official Elmer. Why? Because I like to nurture people on how to get their amateur radio ticket. And one of the things that I do is I try to explain what amateur radio is about using non-technical terms. I like to talk to people and do analogies or paragrams about explaining what amateur radio is. We'll take somebody swimming to explain Ohm's law, and we'll take somebody swimming to explain what pressure and voltage and current, and we'll go on and on for hours. And I really enjoy doing. When I'm going to cut this short, I'm going long here. When I basically started going blind, I had, I was fully working, and my medical situation took a dump for the wrong direction very quickly. And I didn't have a lot of time to prepare to learn how to survive being blind, because I grew up and learned things in a graphic world. And then, as most of you know, 2 years ago, I lost my wife of 41 plus years. And the one thing that I tried to, and I really want to pursue this more, is that I want to thank the people in the blind hams because there is a wealth of knowledge. However, I also want to say that sometimes there is a lot of people who forget that we all were not blind, and I certainly was not blind from birth. And I salute to those who were blind from birth, but I really try to take people who are not familiar with amateur radio and to go back to the basics. Let's not jump to conclusion on what is a problem. Let's ask all the questions going. For those also, I'm fairly technical, and I've been a supporter both financially and equipment to Patrick, trying to get some of these weird modes going and some black magic tricks that I've learned over the years on All-Star. And what we wanted.
Well, you timed out Zoom. I didn't even think that was possible. Okay, we'll come back to you if we can. And whoever's phone that is, please mute. Would be very helpful. Who is that? Can I catch it quick enough? Nope, I can't catch it.
Am I back?
Can't catch. Yeah, you're back. You want to finish up?
Yeah, let me try to finish very quickly here.
We got a big.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know how many people are on. Okay. Anyway, so just basically.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go here in a bit, so let's get to it.
Okay. So, Hap Alley, nice to hear you in person. By the way, one of these days in your archives, I'd like to get a recording of one of my first presentations that I did in Dayton. We can talk about that later at the High Speed Multimedia Forum, the first year that we had that down there. That would be interesting to get back. Anyway, I could go on for hours, but I won't. So back to you there, Steve, Angelo, and Joel. And,
okay.
Robert.
Okay, Neil, thank you very much. The Blind Hams Network wouldn't be what it is without you. Okay, let's move this along, people. We still have a big list. If we can speed it up, that would be very helpful. Let's go to Rob Turner. Unmute, please, and tell us about you.
Okay, I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, sir.
And so it's Rob, Kilo Bravo 6 Delta Alpha, Sunnyvale, Extra Class. Like a lot of the other people, had HF in my early ham radio career. Got my Extra Class in 2004 with Handy Ham help, and really enjoy the Blind Hams mailing list and the bridge. I don't get on all that often, but I enjoy it when I do, and I really want to thank everybody here who has made so much knowledge available. I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am without the help, so thanks everybody.
Thank you, Rob. John, 85 Lima, another one of our plethora of Johns.
You got me, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Well, my name is John. I am from South Mississippi, about 80 miles north of the coast, and the operator's 1991, after I got out of small engine school. I'm currently a small engine mechanic. I took my general technician and novice all in one day. And then I turned around and took my extra in 2001. Went in there prepared for the code test, and the guy said, well, we ain't got to do that no more. This network has been a blessing to me. I got into the digital modes, did not know anything about them. I started when Joel was still over on DMR, on Brandmeister. That's when Brandmeister, TGIF had their big fusses and fight laps. Then it got into All-Star, thanks to Patrick. Patrick's a great, great fellow. I very seldom use DMR anymore. It's all All-Star. But anyway, good to meet everyone. These guys know a lot more than I do, have helped me tremendously. Good job, Steve.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for all those nice things you said about us on the Blind Hams Network. And it wouldn't be the same without you either. It wouldn't be the same without any of you. Ronnie, I'm not sure who that is, but time to unmute your iPhone and tell us about you.
You're such a good MC, Steve.
Oh, thank you, sir. Just as long as no rocks fall out of my head.
This is Ron, N9HOI. Is that who you're wanting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. We became a ham back in '88 and enjoyed it. And then we let our license fall by the wayside in '08. And then during the pandemic, we decided to get our license again. And then we discovered the Blind Hams, and we really enjoyed that. My wife listens to the Blind Hams as much as I do. We listen a lot. We don't get on here and talk a lot, but we learn so much by all the experiences everyone else has had. We really enjoy it. Anyway, let you guys go. KD9, PhD, Ron, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Thank you, Ron. Glad to have you aboard. Shane Jackson, who let you in here? You and I go back a ways. Tell us what's up with you.
We go back a long way. As a matter of fact, I and a lot of people here go back a long way. I am Shane Jackson. I'm in Alabama, Birmingham to be exact, although I'm from a little town called Gadsden, about an hour northeast of here. I'm 48, and I'm a very proud graduate of the University of Alabama. Anybody that knows me knows that. And I got my ticket in '96. I worked mainly in weather and IMCOM stuff till 2002. I moved to Birmingham in '99, got out of the hobby, got married, finished my degree at Alabama, got my law degree, worked at Apple 4.5 years. I did not take the bar, and I'm not going to, but I am a read lawyer. I have sat for and read the law and passed the exit exam. And I got back into ham radio because of some friends of mine who were on digital, and I received an open spot 3 from a gentleman who wanted me to get into ham radio, back into it. He's like, you got a ticket, and you kept it up to date. I'm an extra class, and so I've kept it up to date. And he said, you need to get back into ham radio. And I said, I don't know that ham radio's got a place for a blind deaf guy. And I didn't know about Patrick being deaf. I've known about Patrick Purdue since he created the most famous Jaws skit ever created, Dr. Jaws, Dr. Jaws. Anyway, I have, or Jaws the virus, I can't remember. There were so many of them back then, but anyway, I said, I don't know that they've got room for a blind, about 95% deaf guy. And John was like, yep, they do. So I got back into it, and I got my first Raspberry Pi in June of this year of 2021. And I'll tell you this, I fell in love with a piece of software as much as you can fall in love with a piece of software with PyStar. And I don't care what anybody says. I love PyStar, and I will always love DMR. And I'll tell you this, I don't ever want to diss allstar, because allstar has revolutionized radio for lots of people, and it's an awesome mode. I'm not pretending it doesn't sound better, but I don't like it as much as I do DMR. It's because of the challenges. I love diving deep into Linux. You can ask any 5V about that, and other people who've heard me over on the North American Talk Box. That's where I hang out. And Steve, I just want to thank everybody on the CQ Blind Hams podcast. I've been a podcaster for around 17 years of my life. I've had my own podcast for that long. Had to get rid of it last year. I just couldn't justify keeping up a website. But I got every bit of the knowledge that I know about DMR and allstar from CQ Blind Hams. So I just want to say how wonderful this virtual Ham Fest is. It's a joy to hear each and every one of you. I'm thankful that I'm part of this group. And Steve, I appreciate the time that you've allotted to me.
Shane, it's great to have you aboard, and nice to know a lot more about you than I did before. Moving right along, because it is late and we do have many people. Steve Clower, Steve's Talking Clock. Tell us about you. You don't have to tell us about your talking clock, though.
Good evening, all. Yes, Steve's Talking Clock. I'm the guy. Steve Clower here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. My call sign is AC9XS. It's Alpha Charlie Niner X-Ray Sierra. I've been licensed for just over 18 months. Got my ticket back in 2020. Oh, and I'm extra class. For those new to call signs, you can't have an A prefix, extra. Anyway, software developer by trade. I do a lot of work in the accessibility space. In fact, that's part of how I got my ham ticket, partially COVID, that they started looking ham radio as just in case kind of thing. And there were remote exams available, but they were not accessible. So I went and made them accessible, and then I had to take the exams. Would have been great if they did. But anyway, in preparation for getting my ticket, I started looking up, what technology was usable. I came across Blind Hams Bridge. Patrick Perdue, who I've known time, was helping run it. So got my ticket, picked up GD77, like before, I think it was the week I took the second general set. And so wanted to join that community, partially just to meet other blind hams, kind of get their experiences and pass on whatever knowledge I pass along from it. I don't get on the bridge too often, mostly because I'm still working, so I don't have too much time in the day for ham radio. I do also run a local traffic net here locally, and I really took to learning CW shortly after I got my ticket. And so I've been involved at Straight Key Century Club, and there's a couple on the call who as well. So usually on the weekends, you find me on HF with the meters that I've got. Contact that. CW is a lot of fun. No code is a thing now, but for those of you who are new to the no code, give it a try. Anyway, I'll wrap it up here because I know that there's more people to talk. But thanks for letting me on, and back to you, Steve.
Okay, Steve, thank you very much. For those who don't know, DXCC, DX Century Club, is a certificate that you can earn by having contacts, verified contacts from 100 countries. There's a Work to All States award, there's the Century Club, which is 100 countries, and lots of other interesting awards that the American Radio Relay League, that's right, will hand out to you for lots of different ham achievements. Now, that doesn't mean that this is something you need to aspire to, but a lot of people do. And that's the contesting side of amateur radio. I do believe we're getting onto the short list here. I'm looking for names I haven't found. Let's go to Rayford 1995. Who are you? And tell us about who you are. Just going by the names in the participant list.
Hi, this is Phil, W5BLT. I guess I need to change my name here. Sorry about that. So it's Phil Hersler, W5BLT, and I'm in Texas. And I got my license way back in the 80s. I was KA9UDN, ugly dumb nerd, and when I lived in Indiana. And then during COVID and everything, I decided that I wanted to get my general ticket upgraded to extra, and I did that. Really wasn't a whole very active in amateur radio when I got married. But after COVID, decided I wanted to dust off the brain cells and studied for the extra exam. Started studying, and then after about 2 months, took the test. And so, getting back into amateur radio, got a GD 77. Started out in amateur radio. I had a Kenwood TH218, and then had a HW101 from Heathkit. So I'm still looking for an accessible low band or HF radio. Looking at the Kenwoods, but somebody keeps grabbing them from under me. But anyway, so good to hear everybody on here, and glad to be back into amateur radio.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for coming to the meeting and telling us all about yourself. John, WD9BCH, give us the short story.
All right, short story. Well, real quick, I was licensed back in '69, John. Located was, I actually received my novice ticket probably right around the time that Steve and Don did. And that was back in '69, actually 2 days before Apollo 11. And yes, I actually did launch. But I will let my license lapse and moved up here from Janesville, and pianos for a few years. And actually, my first induction to digital world, I actually, using a Commodore VIC-20, got in a packet radio, and eventually went to a C64 and got in a really, well, no, I take that back. That was stay that way. 2000, I got into, I actually had a PC with actually a 40 meg hard drive, but used Procom Plus, connected with my TS440, and got in a packet, amateur, really, all on HF. Don't want to keep it here too much, but it's really neat, the community. I've actually probably been on here for about a month. I started with a transmit on the Mac, and that is my platform of choice. And I love this community. It's great, especially the music and it's kind of neat to kind of get reacquainted to our host, Steve. We knew each other from the Pro Tools list, WhatsApp list quite a few years ago, Complete Control. All right, back to net.
I also knew you from when we were about 14 or 15. I corresponded with you via, I think it was either Braille or cassette back in high school. I remember that very well. I think you lived in Janesville at the time. Anyway, I see on my magic mirror.
Wow, we got to talk about that sometime.
Oh, you remember that? I see on my magic mirror KS3X, Enoch from Philadelphia. Tell us of yourself, sir.
Hello, Steve, and to the large list, and I've been fortunate enough to be here to hear most of them. Well, I have an extra license, and I got my license back in 1977 at the behest of a friend whom I was sitting on the air talking to on 11 meters, and was getting bored with that mode. As if anybody remembers, there were 10 million licensed CBers in 1975, and all you heard was noise. And he said, "Let's go to a school over there on the Pennsy side," because I was living in Jersey at the time, and take training for the amateur radio license. Well, as things would work out, I had, of course, in 1957, was sent to CW school up in Norfolk, Virginia by the United States Marine Corps, and did not have a problem with code at the time, even though it was 20 years later. Well, a week later, I took my novice license, and my friend took it and failed. If you see him anywhere around in the neighborhood, tell him to try it again, because he would not come back with me. In any case, a couple months later, got my general, and by June of the following year, I had my extra, and I put the book away, started building antennas, and found that got to be a hobby, because being an ex-mechanic, because at the time I went on disability in '77, I was proprietor of a service station and repair shop. But of course, it did not work very well trying to drive a tow truck or go pick up parts or do some of the other things that were a part of an everyday activity there. So I had closed up my shop when I found that the folks that I had working for me liked working in the shop, but they didn't want to have anything to do with management. In any case, we moved on, and I got into amateur radio and started putting up antennas for folks in the neighborhood. and found that that became an active part of my, interaction with in the community because I had the tools and I wasn't afraid of heights. And I kept doing that for a number of years as I was a good partial, no central vision, but peripheral was fairly good for about 18 years. And I did many nets in the process there. If you remember the Sunrise Bible Study, I was a net controller there for about 3 years. Did the local club, which I joined in 1984. For another 3 or 4 years, I was net control for that. And I've been on 10 meters now for the last 20 years with a net every Wednesday night. And also, we got into the digital realm quite by accident. One of my sighted friends had a 2017, and I didn't know anything about DMR or digital at the time. And this is going back maybe 4 or 5 years now. But he decided that he was going to program that 2017 for me, and I could get it at a reasonable price because he was buying radios every other day. And I, got it from him. And then I found out, well, I don't know how to get his thing. So he typed out the instructions, which was about half a dozen steps to be able to move through the zones and be able to get around on it. And I actually was able to work that radio for, I guess, over a year. But I knew it was not the optimum, and I needed to get something else. So I tried an HD1, which I still have, and have a couple hundred different frequencies in it, both digital as well as analog. And everywhere I go with it, I have put those repeaters that are located in that state. Now, I would like to see somebody come up with what Joe has done with GD77 to an HD1, because I think it's a much more stable and quality radio. But that may not happen, but I still enjoy using mine, and we'll hold on to it for some time yet. Of course, I will eventually upgrade this 77 I have. I put the software on it, but I haven't kept up with the updates because I feel like once it gets to the point where it's not going to be feasible to do that, then we'll just load it up and make use of it. Meanwhile, we've got a couple other things going. Any case, in reference to that question that was asked about upgrading the license to general, I have a VE team. I haven't done much with it since COVID came about, but I believe it was 1984. If you had taken your tech test prior to that time, and I believe it was March, you could upgrade to general simply by submitting the forms. But it had to be when you took the tech test that was, remember, 50 questions, and it was the same test that the generals were taking, and they would grant you a general license. I think you probably fall into that category, Steve. And back to you, and thanks for letting me get in here tonight and share with you. Have a good night, and God bless. KS3X.
And the very same to you. Thank you very much. I don't know about the licensing, but we'll investigate that offline. Okay, we're getting down to the few. I saw Matt Barnhill, KD7QLT, in here before, but I don't see him now unless he's under another name. Matt, are you still here? If not, we'll go to iPhone C, whoever iPhone C is. Okay.
Yeah, that might be me. This is Tom, KD3NIX. Tried to change my avatar.
Okay, Tom, go right ahead.
But it wouldn't let me change my avatar. Well, my name is Tom Galanti. I've been a ham since 1964, although, like many others, I've been in and out of the hobby and let my license lapse a couple of times. But my first radio was a DX20 Heathkit, if you're familiar with that. That was my first transmitter, and then I got on 6 meters. I got my tech and had a Heathkit 6er, which was just a terrible radio, but it was all I could afford. Went in and out of the hobby, like I said, been involved in some radio clubs. I went to the University of Pittsburgh, and was involved with the radio club there when I was in college. But after college, got kind of inactive for a good long time, and married and kids and, all the things in life kind of derail us. I went kind of backwards in the hobby. A lot of people, as you guys know, get into the hobby by listening to shortwave radio. I got active as a ham at the Overbrook School for the Blind, K3ZJU. But then much later, after college and with my job, I got to travel all around the world. I just retired recently. I was worked as an investigator for a major financial institution doing anti-money laundering and fraud investigations and drug-related investigations and that kind of things. That was really interesting, and just retired and wanted to really get back into the hobby. And I'm so grateful for you guys, Bridge, Patrick, you in particular, for keeping it going, because I don't know much about these digital modes. You know, I did get a Kenwood D74A and a TM71 for my home use, and I'm going to be getting a 590 SG hopefully here. My wife says I deserve all this stuff after working for 47 years, so who am I to argue with? I'm not going to do that. But I learned so much from you guys just by listening. I don't talk much on the bridge, but I just learn a lot from listening. And you know, the blindhams.org site is such a good resource, along with Handyham, in terms of getting information and study materials. I plan to take my extra at some point here later this year, upgrading from general. So you guys do a great job, and you know, it really is a tremendous for us. And Joel, you know, Chris, the CQ blind hams. I can't tell you how many enjoyable hours I spent, while doing exercise or doing other things that I don't like to do, listening to those, making those activities bearable. You guys are great. And I'll shut up now and turn it back.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming on the conference tonight and telling us about yourself, and hope to hear you more on the bridge. I'm looking at my magic mirror, and I don't see any more names that I haven't called on. I wonder if Angelo, Rob, or Julian could take a look at the list and pick out anybody I haven't picked out.
Maybe we could just ask, for who hasn't had a chance to yourself, please unmute at 4.
I think that's a better idea. Nobody? Anybody? Well, hearing nothing and giving a suitable time for there's the problem child. Oh, we got to figure out who that is and how to help them. It's musical anyway. Anybody have any thoughts on how to...
You know, it can't be Roger. He's muted.
Sounds like a time stretch chipmunk.
I'm tempted to say, Alvin!
Oh, boy.
It sounds like a Smurf blowing a kazoo.
Can anybody tell who that is? Oh, I wish I could know who that is. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to Angelo. I thank you all for all your participation. And Angelo, as host, the mic is yours, sir.
Actually, I think it goes to me.
Oh, I was thinking of, yeah, you're right. You're the meeting host, Angelo is the conference host.
Although it sounds like the chipmunk wants to help me out.
I know. I wish I could figure out who it is.
It's sad because, maybe if the chipmunk could go to the chat and type out something.
Maybe we should just do a mute all, and then you can unmute Julian.
Good idea.
Okay, so we're back. Alrighty, well, hey, and he's back too. Keeps unmuting himself. Okay. Test. Oh, weird. It almost sounds like it's my audio that's being done too. Hello? That is the weirdest thing.
There's Roger. Roger, can you jump out again? Roger, your audio's not working. We could ask you to jump out, and we'll talk on the radio, okay?
Maybe if you guys can disconnect him.
Maybe it's not possible.
If you could just switch to CW, we might be better off.
Well, no, because I think what's happening is whoever speaks, their audio has been put through some weird effect, and it comes back that way. Because, see, I hear it as I'm speaking.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, so maybe let's try muting everybody again, and this time I'll be the only one who unmutes for the time being.
Did I miss the big announcement?
No, we can't get Roger to quit talking.
Yeah, I had to run. The kiddos and the wife come home from basketball practice. I was hoping I didn't miss it.
Okay, so weird.
Oh, good.
Well, if we can't if we can't understand him, he probably can't understand us.
Just thought of that. We might sound real slow to him.
Angelo, can you kick him? Yeah, we're almost to the end. We could just finish up.
Sound like Joel's about ready to go 90-day.
That's right. It's about an hour and a half past my. All right, we got.
Okay, I muted him again. Go ahead, Joel. Go ahead, Julian. What happened to Julian?
I don't know, but I was so I'm not that I didn't want.
Okay, here we go. I have to unmute myself. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So all right, let's get back into things here, and I guess we can edit all that other stuff out, hopefully.
Yes.
I want to thank everybody who participated in this, everybody who took the time to tell us a little bit and then some about themselves. It was very informative. So getting close to the end here, we have a very special announcement that's going to be made here, and that's going to be made by Joel. So Joel, you want to take it away?
Am I muted?
There you go. Now you're
all set.
All right. Well, we've been building up to this, and the big announcement is we're and when I say we're, the community and the podcaster, Blind Ham Podcast, is gathering up a couple of dollars. And
hush up, Alvin.
Okay, so I'm gonna just ask that anybody who is not speaking at this moment, please mute yourself.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, you're good.
Yes, sir. You're good.
Okay. The big announcement, we're going to give away an RD5R radio programmed with a code plug, a basic simple code plug. And we're also going to give away a Clearnode 0 to a person that qualifies. It's going to be the qualifications are, 1, you got to be a licensed blind ham. 2, you or no one in your household owns a digital hotspot or a allstar. 3, you don't own a open GD77 family of radio. And to qualify, you must send me an email. Email address is on the website, blindhams.com, or you can send it to Joel, JOELCA @gmail.com. Once you send that in to me, we're going to generate the list, and then we're going to do random number generator, and the random.org will pick the winner, the Clearnode and the RD5R. What that basically we're trying to do is get somebody that doesn't have capability to get on the network with a radio, that doesn't have a hotspot, a DMR hotspot, or all-star node. If you don't have anything like that, we're going to give away one to help somebody get on the network. So that's the big announcement. Nobody's clapping.
Well, is there any way to help donate to the people that provided the monetary to help them?
Yes. We're taking PayPal donations to my PayPal account, and I want to be buying it. It won't take much. We're getting close to having them to do it.
Well, let me know, Joe.
Okay, Johnny. I'll let you know how close we are. I appreciate your offer.
And where do we send that to?
JoelCase@gmail.com is my PayPal.
Okay.
And then I'll be contacting Jerry and contacting the winner, and then we'll have to work with them to get an all-star ID and everything for all-star. Then, like I said, I'll have the code plug already put in, so hopefully they'll be able to unbox it, plug it in, turn the radio on, and start talking on Blind Ham.
Okay, just to be, I don't know the words I'm looking for, but this is for a person that has no other way to get on the network. If they already have a Clearnode or any way to get on there, they're not eligible.
No, right. Now, if you got Echolink on a phone, that's different. But you don't have an RF way, like no Open GD77 radios, 77S, RD5R, 1801, and you don't have a digital hotspot or you don't have an all-star.
You the man, brother.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that we want to get somebody. We've heard a few tonight who came in who said that they're not, they listen in through, the Amazon Echo device or through some other way, but do not themselves have a way of getting on the network yet. And that's the whole idea, is to try to get somebody like that the pathway to get on the network, and that way we can have their participation, which makes our network even richer than it is. So that's the idea. So again, anybody who wants to put their name into that hat, if you meet the criteria as described by Joel, then send a message, an email to joelcase@gmail.com, And anybody who may want to help Joel offset the expense of doing this can send a donation via PayPal using that same exact email address as the person receiving it. And always remember with PayPal, if you're given the option to send it to friends and family, that's the best option to use, because that way nobody gets charged any extra little fees that PayPal likes to charge. So there you go. All right. So boy, we're looking forward to the winner. That's going to be a great announcement. So
we got one more thing. Steve Jobs would say we have.
Oh yeah.
One more thing.
Well, one more question, guys.
One more. Okay.
Has anybody ever thought about sending this network to the ARRL, or do you think that would cause a whole lot of calamity we don't need?
I don't know. I think that'd be a fine idea to let them know about the network. Maybe somebody could write a little article up and submit it to. That'd be a good idea, Johnny, because we're always wanting new blood to come on here to talk to. Not that we're bored of talking to each other, but there's always room for new people.
Oh man, this thing has exploded in the last year and a half. It really has.
I'd love to see an article on us on Amateur Radio Newsline.
Yeah, I sent Don Wilbanks a little article. He got us put on Newsline about a year. So maybe we can do something like that for the ARRL. But one more thing. Every month, until we run out of things to talk about, we're going to do one of these Zooms, and we're going to call it the Blind Hands Tech Zoom. And we're going to have one next month. It'll be the second Thursday of the month, 7 p.m. this day, the second Thursday after Doug's net's on the first Thursday. We're going to have the second Thursday. And what we're going to do is do it on Zoom. We're going to have a topic. The first topic is going to be how to get on the blind hand. So anybody that knows how to get on, you might want to know a little bit more about another mode, might jump on here. We're going to have 2 or 3 guys that know a little bit about the subject or are proficient in it. And then we'll vote on what the next subject will be for the next month on that month. And we're going to announce the winner to the radio, your all-star note, on the next Zoom meeting.
Why don't you cross-bridge it to the radio? Because that way people listening on the A-Lady could also hear it, KIT.
All I got to do is get on Zoom, Neil.
Yeah, that it's a fine suggestion, but the idea is to get people to come here and participate in this discussion. So, and that, by the way, is part of the purpose of this giveaway, is to do our part to try to get at least one other person. And who knows, we might be able to do more similar giveaways in the future if this one is successful. So yeah, it's okay. I'm hearing somebody's audio in the background. Please mute. Thank you. So yeah, that's the whole idea. So if you want to participate in this discussion, take the Zoom link that'll be sent out to the blind hams list and made available. And yeah, if you want to have a say in the future meetings topic, come here and let your voice be heard. So, Joel, is there anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. So,
yeah, it's like we do the training on the podcast. Well, this is interactive training. It's going to be on, 1 week might be on All Stars. 1 week might be on the Kenwood 590-ish. It's going to be like a training seminar that's interactive.
Yeah, it's just another way, kind of like how there's the Friday Night Net only on All Star and Echo Link's the same kind of thing. So anybody is welcome to participate, and we hope that there will be lots of participation. So given the time that this has taken, and it's certainly been a productive and fun-filled evening, I feel like we should go ahead and then just go ahead and wrap this up here. So I want to thank everybody who took the time to come, who told us a little bit about themselves, and hopefully we will continue to have your participation in these meetings. So it really helps if somebody mutes themselves who's talking.
Thanks, everybody. It's been a great meeting.
Yeah, guys, y'all did a great job. Y'all really
thanks for coming. And what I was going to say
thanks, everybody.
Okay, let me just finish this thing. So again, the meeting is officially over, but anybody who wants to hang around now and do an unofficial rag chew, whatever, we can all talk to each other. The floor is now yours.
Please don't forget to subscribe to CQ Blind Hams podcast and also visit www.blindhams.com.